Welcome to Dynamic Medicos. In this video, I am going to talk about peptic ulcer disease. We'll see it under the following headings: Introduction, Pathophysiology, Etiology, the risk factors and the types of it, clinical features, investigations, complications, and the management part. Now let's see what is the peptic ulcer. It's an acid peptic digestion of the elementary mucosa resulting in the ulcer called the peptic ulcer disease. Common sites are duodenum and stomach, and rarely it can occur in the jejunum and in the Meckel's diverticulum when it contains an ectopic gastric mucosa. Now let's see what are the types of peptic ulcer. First, depending upon the site, it can be a chronic duodenal ulcer. It occurs typically in the first inch of the first part of duodenum, and second is gastric ulcer. It occurs in the lesser curvature adjacent to the acid secreting parietal cell mass. Third is the combined gastric ulcer type 2, which is Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, and the fourth is anastomotic ulcer. Next is, depending on the duration, it can be a chronic peptic ulcer or the acute peptic ulcer. Now let's see what is the acute peptic ulcer. They are also called the acute gastritis or the acute stress ulcers. Etiology can be a psychological or the physiological causes. In the physiological causes, it can occur after the excessive consumption of the alcohol and the smoking, and it can occur after burns called the Curling's ulcer, or it can occur after the head injury or the neurosurgical operations, then it is called the Cushing's ulcer. And the respiratory failure may also produce the acute erosions. Clinically, it can present as dyspepsia due to the minor bleeding or the hematemesis, that is bleeding with the vomiting, and sometimes the massive or the fresh bleeding can produce the hypotension and the shock. Acute abdominal pain due to the acute erosions or the perforation of an acute ulcer. To treat the acute peptic ulcer, the Ryle's tube can be introduced first and the empty stomach, and it helps in the reducing the vomiting and the sometimes the aspiration of the gastric contents into the lungs also. Ice cold water or the saline stomach wash, that is vasoconstriction, reduces the bleeding. Then the regular antacids can be given. Now let's see the chronic peptic ulcer. Now let's see what are the etiopathogenesis of the chronic peptic ulcer. It can be of the bacterial origin like Helicobacter pylori or spirochete bacterium, has been demonstrated in the submucosa of the antrum and the duodenum from the biopsies of the ulcer. It increases by the splitting the urea and releasing the ammonia, which leads to rise in pH and resulting in the proliferation of the bacteria. It can also occur due to the food habits like eating too much of spicy food or the diet poor in vitamins, and smoking and alcohol can also lead to a ulcer. Next is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They are responsible for the gastric ulcers rather than the duodenal ulcers by altering the mucosal defense. Endocrinal causes like the Zollinger-Ellison syndrome is a non-beta cell tumor of the pancreas with the hypergastricinemia. Hypoparathyroidism causes the increased level of the calcium, which stimulates the parietal cell mass, resulting in the genetic causes. The family history of the duodenal ulcer may be present in the few cases, which suggest a genetic cause. Patients with blood group O are more prone for the development of the chronic duodenal ulcer because of the increased parietal circulation. Now let's see the clinical presentation of the gastric and the duodenal ulcer. The duodenal ulcers can occur early in life, like in the 30s and 40s, and gastric ulcer can occur in the 5th and 6th decade of life. Duodenal ulcers are more common in the male, and the gastric ulcers are more common in the female. Then pain in the duodenal ulcers are in the epigastric region, and the discomfort can occur. And in the gastric ulcer, pain is in the epigastrium and can radiate to the back. Duodenal ulcers occur 2-3 hours after eating and at the midnight, and the gastric ulcers onset is immediately after the eating, and duodenal ulcers are aggravated by hunger, and gastric ulcers are aggravated by eating. Pain in the duodenal ulcers are due to the acid irritating the ulcer, that is the hunger pain, and it is relieved by the taking food. After 1-2 hours of food, the pain becomes severe. It is burning in nature with the retrosternal radiation, also called as the heartburn, and increased by the salivation, that is water brash. And the gastric ulcer pain occurs on the taking the food, and it is relieved by the induced vomiting, and the pain is burning as in the duodenal ulcers. Gastric ulcer pains are relieved by the vomiting. Duodenal ulcers patients have the good appetite, and gastric ulcer patients are afraid to eat. Duodenal ulcers patient have no weight loss, and the gastric ulcer patient shows the weight loss. Hematemesis in the duodenal ulcers patient occurs in the 40%, whereas in gastric ulcer occurs in the 60%. Now let's see what are the investigations. First is the stool examination. Second is complete blood count or the CBC test. Special investigations like esophagogastroduodenoscopy (OGD). In this, ulcer appears as a crater with or without the bleeding in their typical location. In the gastric ulcer, the routine biopsy is advised to rule out the malignancy. In duodenal ulcers, biopsy is done in recurrent cases to rule out the Helicobacter pylori. In the long-standing duodenal ulcer, there may be a narrowing of the pylorus with the stasis of food in the stomach, which suggestive of the pyloric stenosis. Other uses of the OGD is for the diagnostic purpose in the gastritis and the carcinoma of stomach, esophageal varices or the ulcers or the esophagitis. Next is Barium-Mills study. In the duodenal ulcers, it shows a deformed duodenal cap. Trifoliate deformity is seen when the secondary duodenal diverticulum occurs. In the gastric ulcer, it appears as a niche in the lesser curvature due to the ulcer crater, and as a notch on the greater curvature due to the spasm of stomach. Crater is basically a hollow or the ball-shaped depression in the ulcer. So as in general, the benign ulcers are the smoother, more regular with the rounded edges and a flat, smooth ulcer base. In the malignancy, the mass protrudes into the lumen or has a fold surrounding the ulcer crater. Test for the Helicobacter pylori. First is a serological test. When the patient has not received the treatment for the Helicobacter infection, then this test can be useful. Second is the urea breath test. It's based on the ability to hydrolyze the urea, and it is to confirm the cure of the Helicobacter pylori infection. Third one is the histologic test. It is done by the staining or the Giemsa stain, and the presence of Helicobacter pylori in the biopsy material taken during the endoscopy establishes the diagnosis of the Helicobacter pylori. Then the rapid urease test. It's an simplest method, but it requires the endoscopy. Now let's see what are the complications of the peptic ulcer. First, of the acute perforation hematemesis or the melena. Now let's see what are the chronic complications. First is gastric outlet obstruction, that is pyloric stenosis. Second is teapot deformity. Third is hourglass contracture of the stomach. Next is penetration into the pancreas, and last is carcinoma of stomach. We can manage this condition by the lifestyle modification, hyposecretory drug therapy, or the Helicobacter pylori eradication therapy, or even by the surgery. Thanks for watching the video. Please do like, share and comment on my video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel Dynamic Medicos.